Hello everyone and welcome to one of the weirder games I've shown in a while. It is MagnusCarlsen versus Hikaru Nakamura from, sorry, Hikaru's rating is all wrong. That's supposed to be 3-2, not 2-3. From last night's Title Tuesday, from late Title Tuesday. And there were so many opportunities missed in this game that it's hard to believe that it was played between two of the strongest blitz players in the world, Hikaru and Magnus here. So I'm not gonna spoil anything. Let's check it out and see what we have here. And also, I've featured a new photo of Magnus. You guys have been requesting it for quite some time now. Today is the continuation of the Grand Chester, the Super Bet Rapid and Blitz tournament, and this is the fresh photo that we got. So let's check it out. Magnus with the white pieces opens with pawn to e4, and this is from the final round. Hikaru is leading, and Magnus is trailing by half a point. So if Magnus wants to overtake Hikaru, he needs to win this game. So e4, e5, knight to f3, knight to c6, we have bishop to b5. Magnus goes for the Ruy Lopez, knight to f6, Berlin defense by Hikaru. d3, we have bishop to c5 and pawn to c3. And okay, very well-known position. Castles or d6 are the two moves that are played here. But Hikaru goes for pawn to d5. It's very rare, and well, no one really uses it. Vladimir Kramnik, former world champion, did use it twice against Magnus, and both of those times the game was a draw. So as Hikaru needs only a draw to win the tournament, it's a pretty good choice. So d5, knight b to d2, adding support to e4. We have castles, and now e captures on d5. Queen captures on d5, and bishop back to c4. Queen back to d8 and pawn to b4, attacking the bishop. And there is a game Wesley So played against Vishwanathan Anand. Anand retreated the bishop to d6, but also lost that game. Here we have bishop to e7, and it is now, as of move 9, that we have a completely new game. So we have castles, pawn to a6. Of course, you know that a4 is coming. We have pawn to a4, and now knight to d5, putting pressure on that c3 pawn. So queen to c2, and rook to e8. We have rook to e1, and bishop back to f8. Okay, this bishop might come to this diagonal, so here the bishop will be useful. And also you free up the e file for the black rook on e8. We have pawn to d4 by Magnus. Knight to b6 attacks the bishop, and now bishop back to b3. Now this is already an interesting move, and one of the reasons why I've chosen this title for the video. Bishop captures on f7 is winning for white, because after queen captures on h7, there's no way the black king survives on f7. You know, amidst all of white's pieces. For example, if you play bishop to e7, then even rook captures on e5, and allowing the knight in, I mean, that's game over. Even if you don't take the rook, simply a nice captures, and knight e4. Now you have access to g5. The black king will be crushed here. But this is 3 minutes blitz, and if you don't see the win right away, you might not find it all the way, as Hikaru is a very tenacious defender. So Magnus might have seen it, might not have seen it. Of course, he did consider it. He goes back, bishop to b3, and now queen to f6. Okay, Hikaru stays in the game. Knight e4 attacks the queen. Queen to g6 now paralyzes the knight, but not really, as the queen is also defended by the bishop. But first, pawn to a5 attacks the knight. Knight to d7 and knight to h4 attacks the queen. Queen to h5, attacking the knight, and now knight to g5 by Magnus, which is a very interesting move, but also bishop captures on f7 is just completely winning. To give you an idea why, if you play queen captures, then knight g5, attacks the queen and threatens checkmate, and the only way to defend queen h5 is met with queen to a2 check. And now once the king moves, of course, there's knight f7 check. Now you either give up the queen, or the king moves. Now a nice double check from the queen and the knight, and after the king moves, queen to g8 will be checkmate. So that's one way to do it. And after bishop captures on f7, if the king captures, well, it's not much better. Then again, queen to a2 check. The king has to start running. Now let's say knight g3 attacks the queen. You cannot capture on h4 due to knight f5 check, winning the queen. So queen to f7, offering a queen trade. And now let's say bishop g5 check, knight to f6 blocking, and knight h to f5 with check. Doesn't matter if you capture or not, because the black king will be chased away from the defense of the queen, and that's just it. You win the black queen, game over. So that was a very clean way of doing it. Magnus misses bishop captures on f7 for the second time. He goes for knight to g5 instead. And the idea is, of course, just put more pressure on that f7 pawn. So how do you react to this? Well, Hikaru played knight to d8. While knight to g5 by Magnus is also very nice, it allows for some very stubborn defense by Hikaru, and if there is a way to defend, Hikaru will of course find it. He plays knight to d8 and now knight h to f3, and this is where the magic happens. Look at this. Hikaru played pawn to h6. Now, you know that, of course, you have this position, you see it, you want to play queen captures on h7. It's impossible. The queen from h5 defends h7. And here Hikaru just played pawn to h6. And Magnus just brought the knight back. He spent a couple of seconds on this position and he played knight to e4. Now, how do you miss queen to h7 checkmate? Look at this. Queen h7 is checkmate. It's made in one. Well, probably because you remember it differently in your mind. You remember that queen on h5 controls h7, and while this is true, it's not really true once h6 is played, and it's enough to trick even Magnus, as you'll see. Magnus and Hikaru both, and even Magnus again doesn't he doesn't find that, and also he doesn't find bishop captures on f7. You know, you could also maybe play that and then you spot checkmate. So yeah, many ideas were possible here. But okay, he brings the knight back, knight to e4, and queen back to g6. Again, offering to trade queens if the knight moves, and that's exactly what Magnus does. Knight to g3, queen captures, and bishop captures. So Magnus could have won the game. He could have won the entire tournament, but now it's again a fight. We have knight to c6, bishop to a4, and bishop to d6 now. We have knight to f5 going after the bishop, knight to f6, and now Magnus trades everything in order to win a pawn. Knight captures on d6, c captures on d6, d captures on e5, d captures, bishop captures on c6, removing the defender of the e5 pawn, captures, and now just knight, or rather rook captures on e5. We have bishop to g4. Hikaru wants to take the knight and mess up Magnus's pawn structure, and it's not easy to move the knight since the knight is controlling defending the rook here. So bishop to e3, we have bishop captures on f3, rook captures on e8 with check, rook captures, and g captures on f3. And now we have this position where Magnus is up a pawn, but it's a doubled f pawn, so Hikaru has excellent drawing chances here. Knight to d5 attacks the bishop, just bishop to d2, and here rook to d8. Again, Magnus completely oblivious to what Hikaru is doing. The thread is very simple. You move the knight and then you take the bishop, and that's pretty much it. So you have to play pawn to c4, and everything is defended. You can't really capture on b4, as now the bishop defends this. But Magnus played king to f1, and now Hikaru just played knight captures on b4. Of course, these mistakes are made also because players are mostly pre-moving. Here, Hikaru had some 20 seconds on the clock. Magnus had some 26 seconds on the clock, but still, for a player of Magnus's caliber, this is just weird. The rook captures on d2, and now rook to c1. Goes after the pawn, rook to d4, and we have a trade. Rook captures and rook captures. And, of course, rook captures on a6. So Magnus is up a pawn, but it's a rook and pawn endgame, of course. You know that almost all of them are a draw, especially when such strong players are playing. And Magnus already squandered some 4 winning chances this game. So, you know, it's probably, if anyone's winning this, it's Hikaru. We have rook to a4. King to e2, now comes rook to a3, stopping the king from entering the game. f4, we have pawn to g5, rook captures on h6, and now rook captures on a5. Rook to h5, rook to a2 with check, we have king to f3, and now g captures on f4. Rook to g5 check, king to h7, and now rook to g4, waiting with the capture as the king is needed to defend the f2 pawn. Pawn to f5, and now rook to g5. You could also capture on f4, there's nothing wrong with that, but rook to g5 first, rook to a3 check, king captures on f4, and rook to h3, going after the h2 pawn, rook to g2 defending, and now rook to h5 defending. We have king to e5, king to h6, pawn to f4, and now rook to h3. There's not much you can do here. You could go king to h7, but then you allow king to f6, and your position is looking really cramped. So Hikaru instead plays rook to h3, and he gives up another pawn. King captures on f5, and rook to a3. Of course, Hikaru knows that this is a draw, but Magnus, of course, will try. We have king g4, rook to a1, rook g3, king to g6. Now it's merely a matter of will Hikaru make a mistake. h4, king f6, h5, rook to h1, rook h3, rook to g1. Of course, you cannot trade rooks. If you trade rooks, it's game over. King f3, rook f1 check, king g3, king g7, king to g4, rook to g1 check, king f5, rook to a1, h6 with check. King h7, king to g5, rook g1 check again, king f6, rook a1, and pawn to f5. Okay, the pawns are slowly marching forward. Rook a6 check, king g5, rook a1, rook to h4, and rook to g1 check again, rook to g4, rook a1, rook to e4, and rook to g1 with check. King f6, rook to a1, rook to e8, and here rook to a5. It's the only move that loses the game, and Hikaru plays it, but Magnus doesn't find it, because here they're playing an increment. They're both down to 5 seconds on the clock and just playing an increment. Here capturing has to be played, but after this rook to a5 move, king to g5 is actually winning for Magnus. I know this is a 3-minute blitz game, but I will show you why. Point is that now after the rook goes behind the king and tries to check the white king, you will give a nice check, and after the king moves f6, okay, we give a check, king f5, rook f1 check, king to e6, and now after you give all the checks and attack the pawn, rook to e8 check. That's the difference. And now after king to h7, king to e7 defends the pawn, and now it's merely a matter of f7, f8. Of course, you will give a few checks and you will try to follow the white king, but at some point you will have to move the rook, and the rook will have to sacrifice itself for the queen. But king to e6 is what was played by Magnus, and now rook to a6 check by Hikaru. Here you have to again capture the pawn, but rook to a6 check, king to f7, and now Magnus's position is again winning. Rook a5, we have king captures on h6, and now king to f8. We have rook to a7, pawn to f7, and now king to h7. Rook to e7, of course, offering a rook trade, rook to a8, rook to e8, rook a7, rook to d8, and rook to a2, but now king to e7. King to g6, and now queen to f8, bringing a queen into the game. Hikaru gave a check, Magnus moved, Hikaru gave another check, and Magnus played queen to d6, and he was in this position on move 82 that Hikaru Nakamura resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. So Magnus does not just win this game, he also wins the late title Tuesday, overtakes Hikaru by half a point, and I mean, what a game to do it. The Berlin defense by Hikaru, Magnus misses not one but 5 winning chances, which is, I mean, absolutely incredible, and still manages to win a game. So he doesn't give a mate in one, but he wins a dead draw rook endgame that takes him some 60 moves to win. That's just what kind of a player Magnus-Carlsen is. But yeah, here we resign, obviously, because after you take the queen, the rook and king will checkmate the black king, and that's pretty much it. So yeah, and very nicely done by Magnus. You know, not the best by Hikaru, but I mean, what are you gonna do? You can't win them all. So yeah, hope you enjoyed that. And I mean, what a moment here. What a moment. I'm pretty sure that's why this happened. I mean, if any of you have any other maybe ideas of how this could have happened, because that's how I see it. You know, you think in your mind the queen controls h7 and there's nothing to it, and then when you play h6, you still think, okay, the queen hasn't moved from h5, but yeah, I mean, it's like he is playing blindfold. He's not even looking at the board. I have no other way of explaining this. You know, if you have any insights on this, you know, give it a crack in the comment section. So yeah, that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Very nicely done by Magnus. I would like to thank Michael Hildebrand, Johan Hoybay, Lorenzo Tessiore, Fred Ackerman, and Chess Legend for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. To really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing to check up on your wonderful suggestions and whatever else happens in the chess world. So thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day, and always check if there's a mate in one. See you soon.